A decision could be weeks, maybe even months away, but the process has begun where lawyers representing long-term care advocates have presented their case on why Ontario's More Beds, Better Care Act should be repealed.
It's hideous. It's obscene, and that's why we're challenging it.
Lawyers representing the Advocacy Centre for the Elderly and the Ontario Health Coalition say Bill 7 first violates a patient's right to liberty and security under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Moving them into long-term care homes that are far away from their loved ones, that might be the substandard homes with terrible care records that causes suffering and hastens the death of the people affected.
The legislation passed in September 2022 without any public hearings. It applies to patients whose staff say don't need a bed at a hospital and who could instead receive an alternative level of care somewhere else. They can be sent to nursing homes up to 70 kilometers from their preferred spot in southern Ontario and up to 150 kilometers away in northern Ontario. If they refuse, they could be hit with a $400 a day fine. This has sparked outrage from seniors and advocates.
It takes away the right to consent, to informed consent for the elderly in the very final stages of their lives.
Gail Harrington's husband was subject to Bill 7. He never made it into a home, dying in hospital.
There's so many families out there that are going through exactly what I did, but they don't have a voice. They just have to sit back and say we've lost him and grieve like I did, and it's got to stop.
Advocates also argue that patients' equality rights are being taken away.
This targets only alternate level of care patients who are destined for long-term care. So it's the elderly patients. No other hospital patient is singled out to be treated in this way.
The Premier speaking on Monday in Cobourg defending the bill, saying patients who are moved would otherwise take up hospital beds in a strained healthcare system.
Bring them to a real home, a long-term care home, and it frees up the acute care beds for people that really need them.
At the time the legislation was introduced, the provincial government said that nearly 1,800 hospital beds were being taken up by someone who could be seen to in long-term care. Since then, hundreds of patients have been moved. Few holdouts have also been fined.
That's not the case. Many of them are actually waiting for hospital care because we have too few hospital beds in Ontario.
The Premier also saying today that he finds that hospitals are being used as a place where people can leave their elderly parents instead of placing them in a home. Now, part of the province's arguments in this challenge, they're saying that if there's an increase in alternative level of care patients, it's because of a surge in population growth. They also argue that some hospital administrators actually support Bill 7, for them saying that it has increased patient flow. The province set to formally present their arguments in court tomorrow morning. In downtown Toronto, Afua Baah, City News.